Yeah, well, here I am at MAC 2024. You see the sign in the background, MAC 2024. I'm actually filming this from the opposite side of that display, because doing it as a selfie, the sign would have been the wrong way round if I'd have filmed it from the other direction. But there we are. This is the beginning of my day at the massive exhibition. If you're going to get a chuck, get a big one. Well, this is the heaviest piece of equipment in the whole exhibition, a one-off bespoke press. Absolutely amazing machine. Hello, I'm Robbie Clark, welcome to my workshop. Before I start my next video for you, which I have already recorded, I just wanted to send a great thank you to everyone who subscribed to my channel. My last video was my 100th video, so this is video 101. But since then, within the last week, I've broken the 1,000 subscriber barrier. This all happened very quickly, and took me a bit by surprise actually, because I wasn't actually that far off from 1,000 subscribers, but my calculation was it would probably still take a few weeks to get to the 1,000, but I've got there and beyond 1,000 subscribers now, so well, thank you very much indeed. That's for me a brilliant achievement. My next video, I hope you're going to find interesting. It's making another tool for the workshop, so it does show quite a bit of machining work. Virtually all of it's done on the milling machine here, my mini mill. Just prior to this little bit, you actually saw a few little clips of my visit to MAC 2024 at the NEC Exhibition Centre near Birmingham. It was a massive exhibition. I didn't realise how big the exhibition was actually. Most of the exhibits there were, well, they were interesting, but not the sort of machinery that I could ever use in an amateur home workshop. But I got a lot from seeing the exhibition. Walking around there was a bit overwhelming actually, and I meant to record lots of clips of things I saw there, but in the event, because there was so much going on, I only recorded one or two bits which I've shown you here just before my little introduction here. Well, anyway, without further ado, let's get on with my next video for you. Bye for now. Hello, I'm Robbie Clark. Welcome to my workshop. Hopefully this is the beginning of a new project. And what I want to do is set this piece of steel, it's 3/4 of an inch square, into the milling vise set at a 20-degree angle. So I'm using a 20-degree angle setup block, and that will be mounted underneath the material so I can set it at that angle. I've already cleaned the vise up thoroughly and to make sure that the block's nice and clean as well. And we can set that below the piece. I'll just release the vise so I can make sure that that's set correctly. That's it. Tighten the vise up really tight. That's it, and we can remove the setup block now. And then we can begin to set the project in motion. What I need to do first is to find the centre of the piece of work. So I've got my electronic centre finder, edge finder rather, in position, and very carefully touch the first side. Another test. That's fine. So let's bring that round and finish off the other side, so I can then use the half function to find the centre. Okay, so zero that, set half, and we can raise that up, and then bring that back to 0. That's it, we should now be in dead centre, so we can lock the wire movement very firmly in place. Excellent. On to the next stage. I've changed the camera position around so that you can see better what I'm doing. I've removed the edge finder and put another ER32 collet chuck in place, and I've got a 1/4 inch end mill mounted in this. It would have been rather nice, you probably realise what I'm doing, I'm cutting a slot in this material. It would have been nice if I'd had a slot cutter end mill rather than this 4-flute one, but I don't have any Imperial 2-flute slot cutter, so I'm going to just see how I get on with this. Pretty obviously I won't keep you hanging around while I machine all this out, so what I'll do is bring you back when the job is sort of just about completed. Right, that was the last cut. Let's get the cutter right up out the way. Bit of a mess to clean up now. There we are. There's a slot cut out. I'm sure you've already guessed what I'm making. But if not, I'll show you. It's something I've been wanting to make for quite a long time. I saw one of these on one of the YouTube channels quite a long time ago and thought it was a very, very good and interesting idea. And some time back, Matty of Matty's Workshop made one of these as well. It's basically a wedge type parallel, and I have already made a little prototype just to sort of test things out. There we are. It's one in miniature. This is half-inch square material, and basically you cut out your 20-degree angle in here, and then you make a 20-degree wedge to go in it, and then you simply use a little screw at the end to push the parallel up. So this could be mounted under a piece in a milling machine, or anything really. It's got a sort of a multitude of uses, and to change the height of this, you could obviously have other pieces of material underneath to raise it to different heights. That just raises up like that. This one hasn't got a pin in place, and normally there would be a pin going through here into a slot into the wedge itself, so that would sort of guide the wedge up and down. You have a pin going through right the way through a slot in here. I haven't bothered to make it on this piece. This was more or less a bit of an experiment, just to see how it would work out. And you just mount a little plate on the end, held on here with 4 little screws, and I've got a brass screw in here so that I don't damage the end of this too much. Obviously it's this, I've actually made this quite tight. It doesn't spring back, but I think in larger ones, literally the weight of this would push it back, but that can be just pushed back into position again, ready for the next time. If I can move that along, that sort of mounts flush into there. Did make a slight error when I made this. I made the little plate on the end and just drilled the 4 little clearance holes. These are only 2mm screws in here, because obviously it's so small. And this is a 4mm piece of brass. It was a little bolt cut the end off and put a little knob on the end of it. But when I set this up to transfer and drill the holes in this part, I put them in the wrong end by mistake. And when I could have told you that what I did here was this was a test to see how it all worked out before I did it for real at this end, but that's not the answer. I inadvertently put this in a little vise, the wrong end up. But there we are. But I think this little one's come out quite neatly. I hope I can make the large one to work as well as this. I left the this piece of material long, basically, so that I didn't have to sort of work out exactly where the slot would end, and of course giving me extra material on here to clamp in the vise. Now I can cut this down to length and then cut another slice off it to make the little plate on the end of it as well. So well, hopefully you'll carry along with me and watch the rest of this build, and when it's all completed I'll hopefully have it in quite a nice and interesting tool to use in the workshop. See you in the next section. Just a bit of a recap before I move on to the next bit of the job, which is sort of cutting this material down to length and then cutting another piece off to make the little end cap. I mentioned that I didn't have an imperial 1/4 inch sized 2 flute slot cutter, and what I was using was just an ordinary get it from an ordinary 4 flute, very inexpensive import cutter, and this survived really well. I'm hoping that, sort of due to the amount of cutting fluid that I used on this particular job, when I started off by using just some cutting oil with a brush. I use this, what is it, GP30 cutting oil, but then I try to sort of flood the slot here with
this. I think I tried to show it, but I don't think it's actually came into shot. I've often used this kerosene mixed with engine oil, 50/50, and in a very, very cheap spray bottle. You can buy bottles like this in England in the pound store. In America and other places, you know, the dollar store, I guess. These are things that are used, I think, by hairdressers just to spray water. Very, very inexpensive. I've got quite a few of these. I have one with WD-40 and one with just kerosene, which I can use if I'm doing a lot of cutting with aluminium. That's is sort of a much less expensive alternative to WD-40, because you can buy a huge bottle of it very, very cheaply indeed. It is a bit smelly, but I don't care. Anyway, I just thought I'd just show you that the bits that I used, and I'm glad I didn't destroy the 1/4-inch cutter, because I only have one of those. But I do actually have quite a lot of 2-flute slot cutters, but they're all metric sizes, and I wanted to do this as only in imperial measurements, and an imperial measurement here, because that's the material I've got. I didn't want to sort of have to buy more steel stock to do this, so I just wanted to use, you know, what I've got actually on hand, and I already have a piece of 1/4-inch material to make the wedge that goes in here already. So just a bit of an explanation there. Now I'll shut up and I'll move on to the next bit. These are the parts I've got ready for the next stage. I've cut this this piece here to length, and I've got a face off the end here, and while I was cutting that to length, I cut another piece here to make the cap, which goes on the end here. And then I've got a piece sort of roughly cut to size here. This is a piece I'm actually going to use. Make sure I cut the right side off, so got nothing to be done along the bottom here. I've just got to set this up in the milling vise at 20 degrees, and then machine, sorry, it's a handheld camera at the moment, and machine that part down so that it will go into the slot there. So I'm a bit wobbly, I'm holding the camera by hand here, but I'm sure you get the idea. So that'll be the next bit to do, is to face both sides of this off, face off the end of this, and then machine this part down to the correct shape. Once I've done that, then I can measure it all out and sort of cut it to length, but you'll see that a bit later on. But you've just seen me face off the end of the piece of material here, and also machine both sides of this little block to make the block parallel. This forms the end cap on here, so that when the wedge is in place, this will obviously be held on, I guess, with sort of 4 screws around each corner, and there'll be a screw going through the cap about here, which will push the wedge up into position. So that part sort of, well, basically is finished. This part will require 4 holes being drilled in each corner, and in this case they're going to be countersunk, and a hole drilled and tapped in the centre here. So the next job I've got to do is to machine the wedge itself to shape, and like the slot in the block, this was machined to a 20-degree angle. I've got to do the same here, so this has got to be machined to 20 degrees. So the setup's basically the same as cutting the angle on the block, is mounting this part into the chuck at 20 degrees and then machining across the top here down to size. Problem here is that the piece of material is about the same width as the angle setup block, so I'm going to hold this piece in place with a piece of aluminium rod, which I hope I need about 4 pairs of hands to do this. Make sure everything is nice and clean in here, and then we'll get the angle block in place, and bring that in. Don't want this to be too high up in the vise there, and I've got to try it and hold that in place as well. I think what I did before was bent. Did I bend a piece of that over? I think I did. Well, that didn't work. I'm going to pop that in and see if I can get that in place. It's not going to be easy. I think I'm going to have to tack that in. What I think I'll do is I'll do that off camera, because this could take rather a long time for me to set up. Well, I fumbled around with this for a bit. I discovered there is an easier way of doing it. Rather than cutting a piece of rod roughly the right length, the easiest thing is to keep it in a long strip, so that you've got a bit to grip hold of, and mount that along the side. So that's now hopefully mounted tightly in place against the 20-degree setup block. So hopefully that's going to be okay, and I'll make sure I've got that really tightly mounted into the vise. Yeah, that seems fine, because this aluminium is very, very soft. It's actually sort of like a brazing material. It will just squash when you tighten the vise right up, but that doesn't matter. So that's in position now, so I can now start to machine across the top.